Hello, Amazon sellers. This is Chris McCabe and Leah McHugh of eCommerce Chris. We're talking today with Liz and Becky from Ecom Engine. We've got some great stuff to talk to them about concerning top mistakes, three top mistakes in particular, that sellers make when they're trying to message buyers looking for product reviews. So I thought I'd just start off. Liz and I have talked many times over the years. For starters, do you think it's still safe to ask for a review via email, Liz?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're following Amazon's guidelines for requesting reviews, and overall Amazon's guidelines in terms of service for communicating with buyers. Product reviews are really important for Amazon sellers. Everybody knows that, especially those in the private label community. And reviews provide social proof that your product is worth buying to other potential buyers. They provide insights also to sellers about market trends, product life cycle, product improvements they can make, and improvements they can make on their listings, and all kinds of stuff. It's a wealth of information. You just have to be really careful about the way you ask, and you have to be cautious not to ask too much.
Right. You're probably getting this question a lot from sellers, right? So have they reached the point where they're saying, I can't tell, I don't want to think about it anymore, I'm just not going to do it? Or do they talk to you and you give them some pointers on, well, you can do it, but you have to be smart about it?
Well, we're going to get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty in a little while, but what I find is that most people are still really competing in the marketplace. And since reviews are such a big part of your success, they're still very interested in obtaining reviews. And since asking for them is one of the only ways you can get them, save, someone putting you on TV and everybody going and shopping and then they have rave reviews.
Celebrity.
That's the ideal. But what you can do as a seller, one of the only things you can do is ask in a TOS compliant way.
Yeah. And another thing we see a lot of sellers wanting to do is when they fix a problem about that a customer has left a bad review about, they want to ask the buyer if they can change that review, which isn't really allowed. So is there a way that sellers can address that without actually breaking terms of service?
Well, you can't ever ask someone to remove a review, but you can comment on the negative review in line where the reviews live to say that the problem has been resolved or that you're working to resolve the issue. And what that does is it creates trust in the marketplace in sort of a secondary way or a tertiary way, because potential buyers will see that you're attentive. You have to obviously communicate in a professional way, but they also see that you're professional, and they see that whatever the issue that caused the bad review is being worked on or has been solved. But if you don't follow community guidelines, if you have spelling errors, if you don't think out what you're actually going to put there, you can look really sloppy and unprofessional, and that's not good for your business either.
Sure.
But a professional inline review in the comments section can show new potential buyers that you mean business, that you're responsive, and that you care about your brand and you care about your products.
Well, and as a customer, especially with all of the bad publicity Amazon has been getting about fake reviews, I would almost take that more seriously than just thousands of glowing reviews. It shows that you're a real person and you're actually responding to real issues.
That's a very good point.
Thanks.
So I had another question about best practices. I'm not sure if this is Becky or Liz, but do you have a list of best practices that you want to share for proper review solicitation methods, or do you think some of this is straightforward, some of it's behind the scenes? What do you think the best ways are to figure that all out?
Sure. Well, sorry, Liz.
No, go. This is you.
Yes, I recently wrote a really long blog post about this, so I'm all over it. One thing that we found is that customizing product reviews is a really good way to get a better engagement and to get more people to leave reviews. But at the end of the day, if you can't get people to open your email, you aren't going anywhere. So it really starts with the subject line, and making sure that that's engaging and something that people want to open and they want to respond. And then we're all busy and frankly a little bit lazy. If you think about, I get a lot of Amazon emails on my phone, and if it's not really easy for me to leave a review, I'm not likely to do it. So structuring your emails such that the ask is really clear and it's really easy to leave that information. including product images or giving an overview of your brand story, or even offering extra resources can be a good way to just add some extra value and to differentiate your product. If you order a lot of things from Amazon, you might get a lot of different review requests, which is fine, but sometimes it's hard to remember, did I order this item or this item? I ordered a lot of things that look kind of the same, so having an image is really helpful. We think that keeping it short and sweet is really important. Too much information can be overwhelming and it kind of distracts people from your call to action, which is obviously to leave a review. But the main thing in terms of best practices is actually what not to do. So with Amazon, sometimes the things that make sense from general marketing perspective don't make sense if you're trying to be compliant with Amazon's terms of service, which you should be as a seller. The main thing that you want to keep in mind is making sure that you know what not to say. So you can't ask for a positive product review. Don't ever ask a buyer to change or remove a review, but do try to resolve the issue. Don't use that as a way to try to manipulate them into changing whatever they had to say about your product. As Liz mentioned earlier, that's a good place to leave a comment and say how you resolve the issue. Don't attempt to influence a review in any way, and that includes offering any form of compensation, even like a coupon code or a gift card. That's all not okay. And you also can't link to your website or Amazon storefront, and you shouldn't include any marketing messages or promotions in your request for a review.
Right. Yeah. That's where we see a lot of people slipping up, particularly in the wordage around if you're happy, leave a review. If you're not happy, contact us. That became a big thing in the last year or so. So you mentioned at the beginning of that, the biggest hurdle really is getting people to open the email and actually take action. So how many emails do you guys recommend sending as a follow-up?
I have kind of a snarky answer to that question.
That's all right. We like snarky.
Is what how many follow-up emails would you like to receive as a buyer?
One.
So when I'm coaching people on how to use our Feedback 5 software, or when I'm talking to them about the philosophy of feedback requests and product review solicitation, I think less is more. I think that you come up with a killer subject line, you come up with great content for your email, you make sure you're 100% TOS compliant, and you send that email.
Yeah. For sure.
I have never seen anything good out of haranguing someone into doing what you want.
Yeah, no. We've met people sending like 20 emails, and we're just like, no.
Yeah, and
trying to make enemies.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people hire me just to have me review their language and how many times they send it out lately, like a quick half-an-hour appointment where they just send me the emails, and I get all over the map. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes they send me 6 emails, like a sequence of 6 or 7. And some of them, like Becky was saying a minute ago, I mean, some of them are long. They're really like, this is our story. This is who we are. This is why we need your support. Like, it's like, are you running for office or do you want a product? I mean, it's primary season, and in November you hope to get elected. I understand, but it is like, keep it under, a couple of emails the most. I think a lot of people just misunderstood, well, we want to stagger this out and just have 10 days later this, 20 days later this. I mean, do you find that to be kind of, the messaging sequence or the messaging quantity to be the biggest mistake people are making? I mean, what do you think the biggest mistake is that gets them into trouble where they have to, get me on the phone?
The number one mistake is how they word the request. I mean, they can send just one email and be totally safe, but if they say something that's not TOS compliant in it, or if they try to coerce somebody into leaving them a review, and we'll get into it in a second, the way people can do that without even meaning to, which is why it's important to have someone look over because these aren't marketing emails. These are customer service emails.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was something,
they lose sight of that, I think.
Yeah. Well, and that was something we talked about recently, where people just thought they were providing good customer service by saying, if you have any problems, contact us. Which it is, but it's also kind of review manipulation, or is review manipulation in Amazon's eyes.
Well, there's that handy little list in Amazon's terms of service where it says, don't try to manipulate a review in any way, and don't only request a review from people you know are happy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tricky, and you have.
I think we're the only ones that read that list.
I keep
I
telling
mean-
people about the list.
Liz and I are kind of policy nerds, so we find ourselves there a lot.
Good.
Get that totally.
Stay policy nerds
Yeah.
and share your knowledge in as many spots as you can.
We try.
Some people just don't want to know the policy because they don't want to envision a future where they can't get reviews the way they have in the past. So they're
Right.
kind of blindly looking away, and it's not the right way to pursue. I mean, heading into Q4, you kind of need some good strategy, not we're going to hide or we'll avoid things strategy.
I had a fun conversation on our I think it was on our Facebook page with my friend Sean Rose, and he said something about in his early days of Amazon he was a cowboy and he didn't really pay attention to terms of service, and he learned a really important lesson through a suspension
Mm-hmm.
that you can't be a cowboy. And I think that there are still people out there that think, oh, it's just words on a page and I don't really have to
Right.
follow the rules and
Right.
I can ask for forgiveness rather than permission. And it doesn't really work in the Amazon space.
Well, and Amazon now is not the Amazon of 5 years ago.
No,
Right.
it's not even the Amazon of last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Changing rapidly.
5 years ago, a lot of things weren't being policed, and the only way you'd maybe get in trouble was a report to a policy team. But if they thought it was just a minor infraction, I mean, this goes back into my days in seller performance, then they'd send a warning, minor infraction. Maybe you would adhere to that warning, maybe you wouldn't. But now you maybe get the warning or you maybe get straight to suspension.
I think at this point they've done so many large public warnings about reviews that they just have a zero tolerance for it. I mean, if you haven't figured it out at this point.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys were at Boost where they were talking about all the machine learning that Amazon has
Mhm.
implemented in order to catch policy violations all across the board, not just reviews, but all different segments of an Amazon seller's world, both for the sellers and for the buyers, to make
Mhm.
the platform, to scale the platform to its current capacity and beyond. And that machine learning is in place, and you have to be careful not only that someone reports you or that someone catches something you did, but there's an algorithm in place that can catch you. And if you do something that is gray hat, like we used to say in the SEO world, you could end up in a lot of trouble.
Right. And I try to tell people your competitor can be buying your product, so don't do anything that you don't want your competitor seeing.
And they are.
Yeah, they're absolutely. I would say the majority of the reports at this point are from other sellers.
And they get the email sequence, right?
Exactly.
So if they pick it apart, I mean, sometimes, unfortunately, they can make a convincing, compelling case to policy teams, whether or not you're on the fence, whether or not you're kind of in the gray area of what you can say and what you can't say. If they position it as, well, we've got several examples, and if you look at it this way, you can tell that they're asking for a good review, and it might be debatable, but you don't want to just roll the dice and hope the investigator inspects it and doesn't agree with that report. I mean, if they do it enough times to enough people, somebody will take action on it. So,
and I think related to other mistakes that we see with people trying to get good reviews, one thing is not learning from bad reviews. So sometimes I'm amazed at people get negative reviews and then they're like, hey, I keep getting negative reviews. Why do I keep getting negative reviews? And I'm like, well, have you actually read the reviews and implemented? I mean, that is a treasure trove of information from your customers telling you, hey, this product could be improved. Hey, this product, I had a seller who had a product that she had listed as red, and in the description it was listed as red, and then people were receiving it and it was like closer to a pink. And she was getting all these negative reviews, and it was just a change in the wording of her product listing.
Right.
Like completely changed her seller or her product review rating. And, really paying attention to those minute details can make a big difference in your overall average.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another thing that maybe some people are missing is that you can use the data that you're getting in reviews to improve your product or improve your processes, or even find new product areas. If someone says that they wished your product did something that it doesn't do, maybe that's something you can explore as another product.
We also recommend that for people who are, especially in the inventory and sourcing side of things, if somebody says, gee, this is great, but I really wish it had this, then you get into bundling opportunities, which is a great big opportunity for sellers. You get your own ASIN, your own seller, you get the buy box, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you can improve your business and make more money if you pay attention to your reviews. But we also I see people who resort to bad actor tactics to try to game the system still. Like, even though you have people like us, the four of us, who are like, don't break the rules, you could get in trouble. And all of that bad behavior is what got us into this situation with reviews to begin with.
Right.
Yep.
If Amazon is the most customer focused company in the whole world, then that means customer reviews have to be 100% on the up and up. They have to be 100% honest and gathered in compliant ways. And so I still see people putting important in brackets in the subject lines, not on our tool, but I see conversations in forums. I've had people ping me on Twitter and say, hey, I want to put important in the subject line. And I say, too bad, because that's against the rules. Or people who even want to put, like you said, Chris, this whole big, this is our story and we're a family-owned business and our success depends on whether or not you leave us a product review.
Right.
That's straight up review manipulation, and you can't do it.
Talking about charities. I've seen everything now. I've seen, I mean, everything except for help me out, I've got a sick dog.
Right.
I'm sure someone's doing that.
Which, I'm not saying that they're lying about having a sick dog, but it's not the place to get into that. It's not the soapbox, and what Becky said a minute ago was such an astute observation when it comes to warning signs, right? A big part of what we're doing, is just preventing suspensions, helping people avoid these problems by early identification. And if you can look at a product review, right, and actually read it honestly, not say, oh, somebody's messing with me.
Right.
Take an honest step back and say, maybe these 3 or 4 people aren't, full of it. Maybe they're trying to tell us something. I mean, that can, just like negative feedback, how you review those. Do you just say this is a product review and they need to remove it? Or do you look at it and say, maybe there's a quality issue with this product. Maybe we need to pull it, do something else, stop listing it or selling it for a while. Product reviews can be a treasure trove of wonderful information if you look at it the right way, right? Data is just data. It's how you interpret it.
Well, and I know marketers that actually go to Amazon product reviews before they start creating a product. So they're seeing what people are looking for in that niche already, and then they design their product based on that. There's a ton of data that you can use from Amazon.
We totally encourage sellers to look at competing ASINs and look at those product reviews to see what they can learn about making their own product better. I mean, if the information's out there in public, you should use it. You just shouldn't try to manipulate it, because that doesn't help you either.
Yeah.
Right. And if that trust is lost, that will affect you as a seller too.
Absolutely.
People come for the reviews, and if that's not a reason to come there anymore, that's not going to be good for anybody on the platform.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I think Amazon's just kind of tired of having to police it.
Right.
It's an old subject now. I mean, when was it? August 2016 or October 2016?
God, I can't even remember.
Yeah, October was when the
October 3rd
policy changed.
Yeah.
ReviewGate.
Yeah.
And then there was
before that, they had the Fiverr thing.
Right.
They were suing Fiverr authors.
In August, I think. So, I mean, 2 years, of regularly having this trend and people trying to, find ways around this or that policy. I mean, it gets old after a while because not only do you have to punish the rule breakers, everyone is sending additional contacts reporting you for breaking the rules. So that kind of doubles it up. And that means more work and headaches for Amazon. And they're kind of tired of it. At this point, they'd rather just suspend people than deal with sending another warning.
Yeah.
So if you guys had one thing that you could tell sellers in regards to reviews, what would it be? To finish off, what's the one thing?
You still need to ask for them. You just need to do it in a compliant way. I think they're super important, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah. Liz?
Be patient, be kind, good.
Those are 3 things.
But it was all one sentence.
Combined into one thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. We have
you.
this post that is either below this video, or there will be a link above or below this video to that.
Over there.
Yep, somewhere around us. There's a link. Thank you guys so much. I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.